Welcome to the Hudson Calm Stories. Let's get started with today's story. My wife arranged a meeting with her ex at a bar to test my jealousy. I stayed calm. He spent an hour belittling me while she laughed along. Then she found out exactly what that test actually cost her. Hi, I'm Marcus Webb, 36 years old, an operations manager from Louisville, Kentucky. I grew up in a small apartment with my mom, working 2 jobs just to keep the lights on. I learned early that nobody hands you anything in life. I put myself through community college, then finished at state, graduated with no debt because I worked nights at a distribution warehouse the whole time. I built a stable, quiet life for myself. I'm not flashy, I'm not exciting, but I'm solid. I thought that mattered. I met Vanessa at a friend's wedding 6 years ago. She was 29, worked in marketing, and had this energy that made every head in the room turn when she walked in. I still don't fully know what she saw in me that night, but we started dating, and 6 months later I proposed. The wedding was small, nothing fancy, just family and close friends at a venue outside town. For the first 2 years, things were genuinely good. We had our routines, our inside jokes, our weekend trips to Nashville or Cincinnati. But somewhere around year 3, something shifted. She started coming home later, said her company was expanding, more client meetings. She'd be on her phone constantly, smiling at texts she wouldn't show me. When I asked who it was, she'd say it was just work or just Sarah from the office. I'm not a jealous guy by nature, but I'm not blind either. I noticed when she stopped touching me the way she used to, when she'd flinch just slightly if I reached for her hand, when intimacy became something she'd tolerate once a month if I was lucky. Then one night, my brother Cole called me. Cole's a mechanic, lives about 40 minutes away, and we grab beers every few weeks. He told me he'd seen Vanessa at that Italian place downtown, the one with the patio. I asked if maybe she was there for work. He went quiet before explaining that she'd been holding hands with some guy across the table, and when he walked past on his way out, he saw them kiss. He sent me a photo he'd taken from his truck. Blurry, but it was her. Dark hair, the blue dress I'd bought her for her birthday. And sitting across from her, a guy in a polo shirt, mid-30s, clean-cut, smiling like he just won the lottery. I didn't call her that night. I didn't scream, didn't throw anything, didn't demand answers. I saved the photo, thanked Cole, and sat in my home office until 3 in the morning thinking. The next day I acted normal, made coffee, kissed her on the cheek, went to work, came home, asked about her day. She said it was fine, busy, exhausting. I nodded and made dinner. That weekend I did some digging. I checked our phone bill online and found a number she'd been texting constantly, sometimes 50 times a day. I ran it through a reverse lookup site and got a name, Derek Holt. I found him on LinkedIn, senior account manager at a mid-sized firm downtown, went to University of Louisville, played golf, posted photos of himself at charity events. I kept scrolling and found something interesting. He was engaged. His fiance's name was Nicole Reyes, and her father, Richard Reyes, owned the company Derek worked for. So Derek wasn't just sleeping with my wife. He was also engaged to his boss's daughter. I didn't confront Vanessa. I watched. I noticed she started dressing nicer before work meetings. I saw charges on our joint credit card for restaurants I'd never been to, in a neighborhood she claimed she never went to. One night she came home at 11, said the client dinner ran late, and I could smell cologne on her jacket. It wasn't mine. 2 weeks later, she came to me with an idea. She asked if I trusted her, said she'd been feeling like I'd been distant lately, and wanted to make sure we were solid. Then she suggested something bizarre. She proposed introducing me to an old friend of hers, someone she used to date, and we'd all grab drinks together just to see if I was the kind of guy who got jealous or if I was secure. I stared at her. This was the setup. This was her way of justifying what she'd already been doing, flipping the script so that if I reacted at all, I'd be the one who looked bad. I agreed. She blinked, clearly not expecting that. I told her it sounded fine, that if it would make her feel better about us, we should do it. She scheduled it for that Friday night. Downtown bar, 8 o'clock in the evening. She said his name was Derek, that they dated briefly in college, that he was just an old friend. I said, okay. That week, I bought 2 things online. A small pin camera and a tiny audio recorder that looked like a car key fob. I tested both of them, made sure the quality was good, practiced keeping them positioned correctly. I called Cole and told him what was happening. He asked if I was really going through with this, and I told him I needed proof, and she was handing it to me herself. Friday came. I got home from work, showered, put on jeans and a button-down, clipped the pin to my pocket, slipped the recorder into my jacket. Vanessa wore a black dress, heels, red lipstick. She looked amazing, and I told her so. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. We drove separately. She said she had to run an errand afterward, so it made more sense. I got to the bar first, ordered a beer, and waited. She walked in 10 minutes later, and right behind her was Derek. He looked exactly like his LinkedIn photo. Tall, confident, expensive watch, hair gelled back like he was auditioning for a cologne commercial. Vanessa introduced us. Derek shook my hand too hard, held it too long. For the first 20 minutes, it was normal small talk. Work, sports, the weather. Then Derek started testing me. Little comments about how being an operations guy must be pretty boring, asking if I was the type who liked everything planned out. I smiled and agreed, said I liked structure. Vanessa laughed. I noticed she kept touching his arm when she talked. Then Derek got bolder. He mentioned that back in college, he and Vanessa had been pretty serious. She giggled and told him to stop, but she didn't mean it. He talked about their wild times, suggested I didn't know half the stuff she used to do. I sipped my beer and said I probably didn't. He leaned back and asked if I ever worried about what Vanessa did when I wasn't around. I looked at him, then at her, and asked, should I? Vanessa jumped in, told Derek not to be weird, but she was smiling the whole time. Derek said a woman like Vanessa needed excitement, needed a guy who could keep up. I nodded and said, I guess so. An hour in, Derek excused himself to the bathroom. While he was gone, Vanessa leaned over and whispered that I was doing great, that I wasn't jealous at all. I said, nope, and finished my beer. When Derek came back, he sat down and looked at me like he was evaluating livestock. Then he asked what I would do if he told me he'd been sleeping with my wife. Vanessa's face went pale. She told him, what the hell, but he kept staring at me. I didn't flinch. I asked if that was true. He grinned and confirmed it. Said it had been going on for about 3 months, and honestly she was way out of my league. Vanessa grabbed his arm, told him to shut up, that this wasn't funny. He shook her off and said she'd wanted to test me, so there it was, the test. I stood up, pulled out my wallet, put 2 20s on the table. That should cover my drinks, I said. Vanessa called after me to wait, but I didn't stop walking. I got in my car, drove home, and sat in the driveway for almost 20 minutes before going inside. The recording was perfect. Every word. Derek's confession, time-stamped and clear. Vanessa's laughter throughout most of the evening, right up until the moment it stopped. I called Daniel, a divorce attorney I'd found weeks earlier once Cole first told me about the restaurant. By Monday morning, everything was filed. The recording, the credit card statements, the pattern of late nights and lies. Kentucky is a one-party consent state, meaning I didn't need Vanessa's permission to record a conversation I was part of. A detail Daniel confirmed before I ever clipped that pin to my jacket. Vanessa called me every day after that, sometimes 5 or 6 times. I never answered. She sent long, rambling emails about how I destroyed her, how she'd never forgive me, how I was somehow the monster in all of this. I saved every single one. 2 weeks later, her lawyer contacted mine, claiming she'd been financially dependent on me and wanted spousal support. My lawyer sent back the recording, the bank statements showing thousands of our joint money spent on dates with Derek, and a full timeline of the affair. Her lawyer stopped responding after that. A month later, the divorce was filed. No contest. She signed everything. 3 months after that night at the bar, the divorce was finalized. Vanessa got nothing except her personal belongings and the car already registered in her name. No alimony, no split of assets. My own lawyer said it was one of the cleanest divorces he'd ever handled, entirely because of the evidence. Vanessa tried fighting it at first, hired a different lawyer who specialized in divorce cases. But once my lawyer showed him the recording of Derek's confession, he told her she had no case. She claimed entrapment, that the recording was illegal. It wasn't. She claimed I was controlling, abusive. There was no evidence of that. No police reports. No witnesses. Just her word against 10 minutes of her laughing while her lover insulted her husband. Derek's life fell apart too. Losing his job at Nicole's father's company was just the start. Word spread fast through Louisville's business community. Nobody wanted to hire the guy who cheated on the boss's daughter. Last I heard from Cole, Derek had moved back in with his parents in Indiana, working at a car dealership. Nicole, from what I saw on social media before I stopped checking, seemed to be doing just fine. A trip to Europe with friends. Photos of herself looking happy and free. Good for her. Vanessa spiraled. I didn't take joy in it, but I didn't feel guilty either. She moved into a small apartment on the east side of town, the kind with thin walls and a parking lot full of potholes. She lost her job too, not directly because of the affair, but because she'd been using company time and resources to meet Derek, and someone eventually reported it. I didn't badmouth her to anyone. I didn't have to. The truth did all the work on its own. A few months after the divorce, I started seeing someone new. Her name was Rachel, a nurse at the hospital downtown. We met at a coffee shop near my office. She was kind, funny, had no idea who I was or what I'd been through until our third date when I told her the whole story. She listened, didn't judge, said it sounded like I'd handled it exactly the right way. I appreciated that more than she probably realized. 6 months after the divorce, Vanessa showed up at my door. I'd just gotten home from a weekend trip to Nashville with Rachel, and there she was standing on my porch looking like she'd aged 10 years. Unwashed hair, wrinkled clothes. Dark circles under her eyes. "Can we talk?" she asked. I started to close the door. She put her hand up, asked for 5 minutes. Against my better judgment, I let her in. I didn't offer her a seat. "No, I don't deserve this," she said, but I needed to say I'm sorry. I didn't respond. I was stupid, selfish. I threw away the best thing I ever had. I said. She said she missed me, missed us. Asked if there was any chance we could try again. I looked at her, really looked at her, and felt nothing. No anger. No sadness, no nostalgia, just nothing. "No," I said. She started crying, begging, said she'd do anything, go to therapy, prove she'd changed. I told her she didn't make a mistake, she made a choice. She chose to cheat, chose to lie, chose to humiliate me in front of a stranger just to test whether I'd react, and when I didn't react the way she wanted, she got caught in her own trap instead. It wasn't a mistake, I told her. That's just who you are. She claimed she'd changed. I said I didn't care. She asked if I was seeing someone else. I said yes. Her face crumpled. Already? It's been 6 months, I reminded her. You should move on too. She wiped her eyes, said she couldn't believe I was being this cold. I'm not being cold, I told her. I'm being honest. You wanted excitement. You wanted someone better. You got Derek. How'd that work out for you? She didn't answer. She turned around and walked out. I closed the door, locked it, and sat down on the couch. Rachel called an hour later, asked how my day was. Good, I told her. Really good. A year later, I'm still in Louisville, still working the same job, still living in the same house. Rachel moved in 3 months ago. We're talking about getting a dog. I don't think about Vanessa much anymore. Sometimes I'll see a car that looks like hers or hear a song from our wedding and feel a small ache of something. It passes quickly. I ran into Richard Reyes, Derek's old boss, at a charity event downtown last month. He recognized me, came over, shook my hand. Said he never got to thank me properly, that what I did, showing him that recording, saved his daughter a lot of pain down the road. I told him I wasn't trying to save anyone. I was just being honest. Matters, he said, and walked away. I guess it does. Looking back, I don't regret how I handled things. I didn't yell, didn't beg, didn't make a scene. I just collected the evidence, let the truth speak for itself, and walked away. Some people think that's cold. That I should have fought harder for my marriage. I don't see it that way. You can't fight for something the other person already destroyed. Vanessa made her choice, I made mine. And my choice was to stop letting her control my life. I'm not a hero. I'm not a victim. I'm just a guy who decided he deserved better and went and got it. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel to stay updated with our upcoming stories. Your support means the world to us. The end.